Warning. Your following movie rental may contain spoilers, subjects, opinions, and language not suitable for all audiences, and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Thank you for choosing us as your go-to for entertainment, and remember, be kind, rewind.
Good evening, audience. Welcome to Movie Rantels, a totally original podcast where two people you've never heard of before bullshit about movies. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me is my good friend and possible replicant, Eli.
Good to be here once again.
And I want to say thank you all out there in the internet lands for stumbling your way in here. We appreciate you. Tonight, we rant about Four Rooms, a quirky anthology movie featuring the likes of Tim Roth, Madonna, Antonio Banderas, Jessica Biel, Mark Lawrence, Bruce Willis, and a whole hell of a lot more.
Oh, yes. And I've been
It's kind of interesting. This movie is like, it's four little stories done by four different directors. And my God.
That's a good way to start it. That's a good segue to start. My God.
My first viewing, about 5 minutes in, I'm just like, what am I looking at? Because like right from the get-go, this is an awkward comedy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so we get a prologue, and you have this old bellhop played by Mark Lawrence passing the torch on to Tim Roth's character, Ted. And Ted is a fucking weirdo. Like, and this whole interaction is awkward as fuck. Like, it definitely has some... I don't know who directed the prologue, right? I don't know who did that. But it feels very much like a Quentin Tarantino thing, but not him. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to do it, but they just didn't do it right. Because later in the movie, you get Quentin Tarantino directing, and it's Quentin Tarantino directing. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm pretty sure that a lot of the in between sketches, the setups and everything for the specific rooms, the Tim Roth pieces, I feel like those were written by Tarantino and possibly by Robert Rodriguez. I'm almost fairly certain that this entire movie was cooked up as an idea between him and Rodriguez, where they included like two other filmmakers who I think had just had like their big breaks in the Sundance Film Festival the year before or the couple of years before. Like, It really has that vibe of like where it was like a bunch of the Sundance kids, basically. This was like, Tarantino had just come hot off the heels of Reservoir and Pulp Fiction at this point. Rodriguez had done El Mariachi, and I think that he was about to do Desperado. I think Desperado was the second one. And it really feels like one of their little collaborations, which BT Dubs, I love their collaborations, but the only one I think they've done to a really big amount of success was probably Dusk Till Dawn. Other than that, like this one, I have not met a single person who remembers this movie or talks about this movie.
I didn't know it existed until you recommended it to me days ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, Four Rooms. Oh, Tarantino did it? Great. And then I just started watching it. I didn't read anything about it. Nothing. And I was very, very confused for the first little bit. And then, as I, it's anthology. Oh, different directors did this. Okay, that makes way more sense. Because the first segment is
The missing ingredient, the honeymoon suite. I do want to give a little bit of contextualization, actually, to this movie, which
sure it needs it.
It really needs it. I mean, hell, the first time I saw, since we're talking about the first segment in particular, that's like the one segment that doesn't fit. Like the first time I saw this, I'm like, this is the one segment that throws the entire thing out of fucking whack. In hilariously,
and it's the first one.
Hilariously. But when you hear this little bit of detail or this particular artistic inspiration for this entire thing, you might not, you might get it a little bit. Okay, so apparently, it's more blatantly based in Tarantino's bit, but this entire movie, I guess the theme or the idea for this particular anthology was based on the works of Roald Dahl, specifically the adult short stories of Roald Dahl. Because Roald Dahl is known most famously for writing children's literature like Willy Wonka, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, The Witches, the Twits, Matilda, the BFG, but also a lot of people forget he wrote a lot of adult short stories, and this was really made in that spirit and in that vein. And when you look at Roald Dahl and his like surreal darkness, just his absolute surreal darkness, like if you look at it in the context that the Four Rooms is supposed to be that kind of adult Roald Dahl film, then The Witches and the Honeymoon Suite and the Missing Ingredient, like that almost fits then in that context.
Yeah.
But it's so it's even
but
then it's
very jarring.
It's very jarring. It's very disjointed.
Yeah.
But
and like
I want to hear you try to explain the plot of this first segment because
I wrote quite a bit on every other part of this movie
except that one.
I think I have a sentence and a half for this.
Let's hear it.
It's a plot. The plot is a bunch of witches show up. Now, they're including Madonna. So, there's tits, there's Madonna, Ted gets laid, that's it. Everything else is just like, what the fuck? Like, so apparently, 100 fucking years ago, some BDSM happened. Curse was placed upon Diana or what, Hermione or some fuck. And then
you gotta read the first time, Diana.
And then so we need to redo the thing, and so Tim Roth needs to get laid, and then Diana comes back out of a tub. Like, what the fuck? There's actual magic and I-beam roofing,
And who the fuck was in charge of the VFX team? Okay, I get it. They wanted
the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, they wanted a little bit of the cartooniness. And there's I get the stars flying around his head and the hearts flying around his head, but UFOs. There's fucking green UFOs animated around, and you got to think that this that looks like a weird 2D/3D effect. Which I'm looking at that and I'm thinking in the context of this came out in 1996. That had to be a lot of the budget right there.
Yeah.
This fucking little 2.5D flying saucers flying around Tim Roth's head.
Yeah. And then then it's done. And then they're like, hooray! Fucking what's her face got laid. She's a real woman now. She didn't swallow. That's the whole consternation of this whole thing is she's fucking swallowed the last fucking load she got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck am I
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned to me before this. You've seen this twice now.
Yeah.
You watched twice, And I totally understand that you totally like zoned this one out. I did like the first 6 times I stayed, because like this isn't my first time seeing this. Like I haven't seen this in about 5-7 years, but so the plot, or the more detailed plot, as far as so yeah, we've got a coven of witches that come to the they come to the hotel, the Monsignor, the
Yes.
honeymoon suite, to perform a ritual to resurrect what they keep calling her a goddess, but from the fact that there's like pictures of her and everything, like I don't know if is she a goddess, or is she just like
man, putting too many brain cells into
like
this first
an
one is just a
idol?
waste of time.
I'm like an idol or another witch, just a really powerful witch. I don't know. Either way, yeah, there is this hot BDSM woman, a virgin, as they keep saying in the script.
And Tim Roth is very dubious. Ted's like, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think she's a virgin. I'm like, fuck. Yeah.
And the witches, they have to like perform. Yeah, they have to perform this ritual where in each of them they have to like sacrifice like some kind, or they've brought some kind of an offering to the cauldron, which weird cauldron. It does look like a cross between like a fountain and a tub, but
it's the honeymoon suite. Like you're supposed to share that with your honey, right? Like it's small, so you have to like cram together and make a soup out of the two of you.
Yeah, but I mean, even though I don't know, I've never seen one like that just happens to look like a witch's cauldron. It's just too perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever did the set design in this particular part did not get paid enough. I don't know who they were, but they did not get paid enough.
It was good. It was pretty good.
So like they all have like, and they all have, of course, like sensual or sexual related offerings. I mean,
did you notice what Madonna used for the cup that she poured the wine or whatever into the thing?
Oh yes,
was like one of her tit cones.
Yeah,
that's all I could see was a tit cone, and I was like, my God.
You're like, it makes me wonder. Like, did she do those performances with those cones before or after this movie?
Oh, before. Had to
have been. Anyway, so
80s. Anyways, yeah.
So yeah, like also weird. Another weird little tidbit. It's interesting to look at this and like. Okay, so first of all, the director's name escapes me of this particular segment, but it's directed by a woman.
Alice. Yeah, like Allison Anders.
Allison Anders.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it really interesting how it's like.
This is the lowbrow one.
Yeah, like, and not just that, like, it's, I don't know, like, I feel ill-equipped to even begin to, like, unpack it, but I almost want to say, like, it's interesting how that she did this with her spot. Like, it's weird how it kind of dances.
Yeah, this is what she chose to do.
It's dancing.
And it's not like because like topless dancing women is like not entertaining for me, but like
right,
it was just very jarring.
Yeah, and it dances the line between like half the time I was wondering like, okay, I was just like trying to analyze all of the decisions between like the ritual and their outfits, the way they look. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, it's sex positive. Like that's all I'm getting from this. Like, is super sex positive. I guess semi-pro LGBT, or at least in the sense that there's literally
pro-lesbian.
Yeah, pro-lesbian. Because yeah, the one of the girls isn't even a witch. It's just the lover of Madonna's character. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Who decides?
It's like, you're not my mom. Yes, you are.
Then why are we sleeping together?
And then why are we sleeping together? And then Tim Roth is like, excuse me?
Like,
oh boy, what am I? Yeah, this is his first day, by the way.
Yeah. And
like, what a fucking way to start your day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's New Year's Eve. And he is alone. Like, he's the only person on staff that day.
Yeah.
Fucking sucks to be him. but like, yeah, just I wonder what. Also, I wonder what the conversation must have been with the directors or whatever, considering the topless bits, because only half of the actresses were topless in that scene. Like Madonna did not go topless, and I forget the name of the other actress who didn't go topless, but
Yeah, it must have been like, do it if you want.
do it if you want.
Whatever.
You don't have to.
Yeah, this movie feels very like everyone was there just to like have fun.
Yeah.
Like,
and I can respect that. Yeah, it was funny to note that the director of this particular segment, she went on to direct, I think mostly television. She mostly directed television, which is fitting because I feel like this particular segment was more fit for television than it was for a movie. And I obviously don't mean that in sense of content. I mean
condescension.
That, yeah, I don't mean
and condescension. Like, it's not like, yeah.
I don't mean that in condescension. Yeah. But not in terms of content either. But just because, like, I think it was just because it was framed with more staging than camera in mind. It seemed like it was done more economically in a television like fashion than a film like
even
fashion.
The camera angles, you know, felt very clean, like television.
Yeah,
you know,
like
ish.
almost too clean.
Yeah, like there's obviously a set here. But yeah, the first one, not the greatest of the four, I mean.
Yep.
But it was definitely something.
It was definitely something. So spent enough time on that one. So moving on to room 404, I believe it is. And the fact you can't remember one is which one it is. It's beautiful. The Wrong Man, directed by Alexander Roxwell. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's interesting.
Probably my favorite segment. I can't decide.
Really?
Yeah, I for a particular reason. Like it's my personal favorite. It's not the one that I think is the best. It's just my personal favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. No. That definitely goes to. Actually, I don't know that. We'll get to that later.
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
Whoever the actor was that played Siegfried in this segment, he was having too much fun, man.
Way too much fucking fun.
Way too much fucking fun. Oh, and
like this one is kind of like, how do you even how do you review this one? Like, holy shit. So
emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
This whole segment is an emotional roller coaster.
Fuck, what is that guy's name? Oh my god, I have it written down here somewhere. Goodness. But yeah, anyway, so some dudes in room 404, the real 404 probably,
right,
call for ice, and Ted walks into the wrong fucking room, man.
where a woman is tied up, and the husband, in nothing but a suit shirt and a pair of boxers, with a fucking gun, just
and he's got the socks with the sock holders, you know, the fucking your sock suspenders. Oh my god,
that outfit though.
And he just like, you know, pulls the gun and is like, Theodore, you're here. And he's like, what? Like, excuse me?
Never mind the fact that you have horrible timing. What matters is you're here.
You're here. Click. And as he pulls back the hammer on the gun, it's like, oh my god. And then it's like, I was like, oh man, he thinks that this dude was cheating on his wife, and then Ted was the lover in this like triangle.
Yeah.
But like making Ted admit that he was fucking another man. So it was like, are they like a polyamorous like group? And like he's pissed that Ted was fucking around with other men or something. I was getting really confused on this one, but it was more or less the fact that I'm just watching the performance like, the fuck? Like, oh, what is that guy's name? It's gonna bug me until I find it.
But yeah, God, it's like it's
David Preval.
David
There we
Preval.
go.
It's beautiful because it's one of those situations where like you're so in the shoes of Ted in this particular moment,
you're so confused.
You're so
and
confused.
Ted is so confused. And Ted is a fucking weirdo, by the way. Like
these two out weirdo him by a fucking long shot.
Okay. Like Angela, the woman who's tied up.
Oh, that woman.
Which is really funny. She's played by Jennifer Beals, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the show Lie to Me?
Yes.
Tim Roth played the main character in that one, and his ex-wife was played by Jennifer Beals.
Oh my God! Really? I never even. Oh my God! I never even made that good. That's beautiful.
I was looking at her and I was like, she's so fucking familiar. Where do I? Because I love Lie to Me. Like that was a great show. And that's like the first time I saw Tim Roth like perform. And I'm like, man, this guy's great. And then I went back and watched Reservoir Dogs and
it's a good introduction for
all
him.
that shit. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this guy's fucking amazing. Anyways, I thought that was a cool little tirade there, factoid.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite part of this whole thing is when he's got Ted by like the mouth and is trying to mouth him out to say like, I apologize. Theodore
must humbly and sincerely apologize for saying that I fucked another man. Say it. I'm just saying I fucked another
man.
Yes. Oh, and then at one point he like just every moment of him just trying to say something that like it's like I got this figured out. You guys are like into some kind of weird sex stuff, right? And then Siegfried's just like, start nibbling, motherfucker. Just like
start nibbling,
motherfucker. I was like,
oh my
trying
God.
to make him nibble on Angela's ear like the bunny rabbit that he used to have or some shit like that. I was just like,
yeah. And then Ted blows up at him like, no one calls me Theodore. And no one calls me Theo the Thumper or whatever. And I'm just like,
yes,
as he's delivering that line, I'm like, what kind of fucked up life have you had, man?
Yes, my mother had the disservice of naming me Theodore. And anybody who knows the reason for that is living millions of fucking miles away. No one is ever going to call me Theodore, let alone Theo the Thump. It's Ted. It's like,
and then the fucking Siegfried is like, wow.
And he shakes his
head. And then
like
fucking pulls him in for a kiss. And it's just like, oh my God.
And then fucking has like a heart attack or something that just falls down.
Yeah.
And then
he's like, get the nitro. Get the nitro. He fucking can't find the nitro. He opens up the fucking medicine cabinet and like condoms fall out and like the bathroom is covered in blood and like there's leaking faucets and like, what the fuck have they been doing in this apartment? Like, what the hell?
And then he the best part, he tries to crawl out the fucking window and somehow he steps on the flusher of the toilet. And all you hear is
her dress is gone.
There's a dress going in, and all you can hear is, help me! Help me!
Help! And it zooms out, and you see the hotel, and the arrow is pointing out the window he's flailing from. And it's like, this is Ted. Ted is fucked right now.
And then he's like laying in the frame with his legs on the inside and his torso on the outside, looking up at a guy looking down from the outside window.
It's like, so do you think you could maybe call the police.
Ice!
Sir. And he pukes on him, and it's like, oh my God.
And somehow, and that puke, by the way, hits him square in the fucking face. And somehow...
Yeah, but then the next scene is he's clean.
Yeah, he's completely clean, like it never touched him. I'm like, huh? Movie? It's like...
Yeah. Oh my God. And they come back in, and...
Fun little factoid. Fun little factoid. That guy puking out the window, also one of the two guys that called for ice, that's Lawrence Bender, who was the... I think he was an executive producer of both Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and he played a small cameo role in Pulp Fiction. I think he's in a lot of Quentin's old shit. He's usually credited as yuppie scum.
Oh, yeah,
Credited
long
as
hair yuppie scum.
Long hair yuppie scum. Sorry, just thought I'd throw that in there. You were saying.
But yeah, and then you find out that this is a weird fucking game these two play.
Yeah, like these two are just going through the motions of like just having some weird psychodrama with one another. Like,
yeah, and then they just like invite someone to like entrapment. Like someone shows up and like, all right, we're gonna freak this motherfucker out. We're gonna scar this guy for life.
Like, I love how absolutely fucking beautifully vindictive Angela is the entire time.
Oh yeah,
Just
like and he and Siegfried loves it. Like, and then at the end is just like, oh yeah, Angela's talking about Ted, and it's like, man, he's got such a huge cock. It was great. And and Ted's like, no, we're not doing this. Show
it to me. Show it to me.
Yeah, as he's leaving, she just keeps going on, like saying different euphemisms for penis.
And he's like down on his knees begging her to shut up.
Shut up. And it's just like, oh my God. You have a gun, man. Like, I don't know. It's just fun.
And Ted
it's
gets
a
the
fun
fuck out
little
of there.
adventure.
And Ted gets the fuck out of there.
This dude's like, do you know where room 404 is? Like, I certainly would not. And then the guy goes in there and you hear click. Like, oh, I might have terrible timing, but you're here. And I'm like, oh my God, this poor motherfucker's going to get the Rimero now.
In the credits, I found that he's credited as the real Theodore. So that dude, which by the way, the dude who called for ice alongside the long-haired yuppie scum, he supposedly actually is the Theodore that they were
looking for. Oh my God, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Well, then obviously they knew he wasn't the real Theodore. They were just fucking with him.
Yeah. Or at the very least, Angela is. Because you got to think, Siegfried has no clue who the fuck, who she's fucking around on him with. Like, it could have been this dude, but
right.
And she's of course the when I think about all the times you were inside me, promising me a better life, it makes me want to puke. Just like, oh my God. He's like, why are you doing this to me?
What have I ever done to you people? So good. And that one I was like, okay, this is actually this is going to be good.
The fucked up thing is like, it's another one of those things where I'm like, I would love to, like, this seems like it would be an amazing stage bit. Like,
oh yeah,
I would fucking love to see that on stage of just the absolute madness of the whole thing. Very Roald Dahl. Also a little bit of, I feel like it's a little bit of maybe not so much in I don't know. He's not really that much in comedy in the terms of comedy, but like Raymond Carver. But I don't know. You're not.
That's a name lost to me. No, I have no idea.
That's okay. No worries. It's very, very obscure reference. I'm fucking full of those, by the way. Mm-hmm. I knew this movie, so I.
Yeah, you were familiar with this movie, like you and 4 other people. Now 5. Now that I've watched it.
So, shall we move on to room? I believe it is. I don't remember the name. 309. Room 309. The Misbehaviors.
Yep. This one is where this gets good.
Yeah. This is Robert Rodriguez's segment.
Yep.
BT Dubs. Oh.
It's really interesting to note the chronology here of this movie really starts to make, like, this segment really messes with it, or kind of, I guess, frames it. When you first start this segment, he's going back to the front desk, and he hangs up the little cherry little ornament that what's-her-face had in her hair.
Yeah, from segment 1.
From segment 1.
Yeah. So Misbehaviors starts right after the...
after segment 1.
Segment 1. And is happening alongside The Wrong Man. Like...
Right.
The Wrong Man happens in the middle of the Misbehaviors section.
Yeah, and it's really funny because in the Misbehaviors, the room gets a phone call, and you hear Siegfried's line.
What? We ain't got no needles, kid. Just a big
fucking gun. Great. But yeah, and so in this one, we start off with Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
And his wife. his fictional wife.
His fictional
and
wife.
his 2 fictional kids. And they're getting ready for a party. But Antonio is like, fuck it. We're going to have a good time and leave the kids here and have Ted keep track of the little shits.
He's like, I'm not gonna get a babysitter because they're probably, some sick fuck, whatever. But yeah, the TV will distract
the TV
them.
and this random fuck is gonna watch my kids. It's fine because I'm getting laid. I could make more. It's fine. I'm Antonio Banderas.
And a little back and forth that him and Ted have about getting paid. He's just like,
yeah,
I can't keep checking up on them all the time. It's going to be a pain in the ass. Are you calling my kids a pain in the ass? No, sir. It's not the kids.
Calling the situation a pain in the ass.
Well, you were right the first time. They are a pain in the ass. So here's 500. Like, there's a whole dispute about 500 or 300, and finally Antonio caves, and he's just like, "Yeah, you were right. My kids are a pain in the ass. Here's 500."
And they keep fucking calling him. Like, he's like, okay, if your kids are good, I'll give you milk and cookies. Don't call me.
Don't call me.
And the little girl's like, well, my dad said I can call you whenever I want. He's like, yes, you could, but you'd be being a bitch. Let's not do that. I am the only one here. And like every 5 minutes, they're ringing him up, which it's not every 5 minutes, it turns out. It's like... there has to be like hours between they fucking call him because he's off fucking around with other people's shit in this time, like other things are happening, and or at least the events of The Wrong Man are happening in between this, and so the kids end up getting into trouble, and they find a dead hooker in the fucking bed.
Okay, so a little bit, just for 1 second, a little bit about the build up to that, by the way. Throughout all the happenings that...
Oh, you're right. Okay, continue.
Throughout all the stuff that the kids are getting up to. And this is something I know. I've seen this movie countless times since I was 16. But this just hit me in the freaking face when I was watching it. So... I think it really starts when the kid starts changing, the boy starts changing the channel and finds I guess a stripper on TV. Turns out to be Salma
Salma Hayek.
Yes.
Yeah, Salma Hayek.
Salma
I was like,
Hayek.
oh my god. Anyways,
and so there's kind of like this thing going on between the brother and the sister where they're just like, they clearly keep smelling something bad, and they're just like, and they blame it on their feet, like
each other's feet.
Stink.
Yeah.
And so, and there's this moment where the sister is like, they don't smell for yourself. And then there's this lead up where the kid just goes and sniffs her foot and she kicks him in the fucking face, and it's great. But
kicks him off.
But whilst I was watching
changes the chin.
But whilst I was watching that entire build up, all I could think, like, it hit me in the head. I was just like, oh my god. little bit of a headcanon here, okay? It has been rumored and joked about that Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish, and after seeing like movies like Dusk Till Dawn, I'm more than certain that that's absolutely true. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in Dusk Till Dawn there is a scene.
But yeah, elaborate.
Yeah.
Oh god.
In Dusk Till Dawn, there's a scene which Quentin Tarantino acted in. There's a scene where Selma Hayek happens to do a striptease dance, and in the midst of it, she pours alcohol down her leg while sticking her foot in Quentin's mouth. And he's like sucking on her toe as he's drinking the stream of alcohol from her leg, like the champagne or something from her leg. Yeah. And I remember when I saw that after hearing that theory that he has a foot fetish, it's like, yeah, he has so many shot of bare feet in all of his movies. If you really like, bare female feet in particular in all of his movies, and it's like, and I'm just imagining that conversation in that was that he wrote it in the script because he wrote that movie. Rodriguez directed it, and he saw that, and he was just like, come on, Rob, you got to do it for me. You got to do this for me. And he's just like, fine.
You got to do it for me, Rob. You got to do it for me.
And he's finally just like, fine. And then he gets on the megaphone. Salma, could you please let Quentin lick your toe? Like,
she's just like, oh god.
Oh god. But the fact that it's here in Rodriguez's, in a sense, I feel like it's either.
And then the dude gets kicked in the nose, like
in the nose.
How it should have been.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, do they both have that, or is he
either
just
that, or
he's just
because it's kind of he's fucked up, right? Because it's kids, so it's like
or I'm like he's just clowning. He could just be clowning on Quentin for all we know,
right? Like maybe this is the origin story of Quentin's fetish. He got kicked in the face by his sister. Fucking weirdo.
Not that he has a sister, but anyway, at least not that I know of. Not that I know of.
Not that we know of.
To be fair, I love the man's work. I never ever like looked into his personal life other than he used to be a video store clerk. That's all I know. Like, and
that explains a few things, right?
That explains a lot of things. Are you kidding me? But anyway, moving on from the meta stuff. Yeah.
Right, so they're like keep smelling their feet, like your feet smell, and then like they call back and they're like, something smells bad in the room, and he's like, it's your feet.
And they're like, no, it can't be the feet. And so finally they figure out, they pull the fucking mattress away, and there is a hooker corpse in the bed springs.
Yep.
Which,
oh my god!
Which I'm pretty sure, like I forget the name of the person who played the corpse, but it was a Rodriguez, and I was like, sister, wife, or like family member of Robert's.
You want to be in one of my movies? You're gonna be a corpse.
You're gonna be a corpse stuffed in the springs.
No, you're gonna be a hooker corpse.
Hooker corpse stuffed in the springs of a bed. So. Oh god, and the other thing, and I don't know if this is a continuity error. I feel like this must be a continuity error, but so the phone call between the little girl and Siegfried happens before. It was just before they start like playing darts with the freaking syringe that she finds in the cupboard. And Tim Roth's character comes in, Ted comes in, and he's he's okay for the most part, and he's just being himself. But when they call after finding the corpse in the bed, he like runs up to the bell as it's going, just and he's like, shut up, like he's already fucking driven mad from something, like, and I was like, this would make sense if he just came back from the 404 incident, but no, that like continuatively that wouldn't have made sense. He would have been in and out by the time that he came back to give them the saltines and put them to bed. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't.
And it's kind of interesting too, like how there's another the both weird like chronological events, I guess, are happening inside the Robert Rodriguez segment. And I wonder how much of that was just like him being like, hey, let's add an extra layer to this movie to kind of connect all the stories together.
Right.
Or if it was something they all were like, oh yeah, we need to have some point where, all this gets connected somehow. And I feel like it was definitely like added in that this level of like the level of events that's happening, like this, instead of just being like, the first thing happened and then the second thing happened and then the third thing happened. They wanted to like add some depth.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, let's he's hanging the cherry thing there. That, ties this point in time to this point in time.
Right. I think that there's an interesting term for this that I don't see. I never see this mentioned, I think, in any... I never see this mentioned about movies. But, like, okay, so, like, when it comes to the... I mean, these are usually called anthology films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's a bunch of short films. But at least with a lot of short films, particularly around the time, I'd say Pulp Fiction was probably one of the, at least the most... Pulp Fiction was probably the most famous example of this, but when the anthology movies started to basically follow that blueprint of that all of the short stories had to coexist in the same world and be, in some kind of chronological order if you thought it, like if you took them out and thought about it, like they were, subjective parts. Thing is, I mean, obviously, I think most people know that's kind of a thing that's been done in literature forever.
Sure,
it's not new and unique to Pulp Fiction. It's unique in the sense that for Pulp Fiction, in the sense that people had tried to do it in movies. I think in more popularly, I suppose, but those are not called anthologies, even though they're most commonly misnamed as anthologies. The literary term for those are called cycles, because the difference between an anthology and a cycle is that cycles specifically are a bunch of short stories that take place in the same world and probably can be strung together on some sort of continuity. So Pulp Fiction, technically a cycle, not an anthology. Four Rooms, technically a cycle, not an anthology. Trick or Treat, cycle, not an anthology.
Right.
Right. But Creepshow, on the other hand, anthology. Like,
right, because
those don't.
It doesn't
coexist.
have a right. They don't have a singular thread. Yeah. Right. Like, this has a location and a character.
Yeah.
That are key to each of these different stories.
Yeah.
And I really like the way that Ted is handled between different different directors. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You kind of see Ted grow as a character through these four shorts.
Right.
Where he goes, you see him when in the prologue, and he's just like this grinning fool, right? Like, just there's nothing up there. And then by the time you get here, you start seeing he's a person, right? And he's weird, but he's a person. He tells stories of other times in his life. Like, so he's a boob character that kind of just gets the story happening, to him. Mm-hmm. But he also has enough of his own internal cohesion as a person to push back on that. So by the time you get to the last cycle, I guess, he's pushing back. He's like, nope, I have done enough crazy shit at this place.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah. And he talks straight, instead of being trying to be the bellhop character. He's not Ted the bellhop at that point. He's just fucking Ted.
Yeah. He's like, he's gone from being like sort of a passive character to an assertive character, which, but yeah, the climax of the misbehavior, so we can move on to the main event. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless there's anything else in particular you want to explore about the misbehaviors. I mean, I think that we.
I think it was fine. I mean, Rodriguez was just, I guess, told Banderas to just be 110% Banderas, and he was like, okay. And that's it. The kids were fine. They were amusing without being annoying.
Also,
Ted's
fucking
little
freak
thing
out is great.
Yeah,
his freak outs here are great.
Yeah.
At the moment where the camera situation when the little girl pulls out shows the corpse to Ted and just immediately just like like
what the fuck is that? Is he's
bopping.
puking?
Jesus fucking Christ! What the fuck is that? Like, it was,
and then the last line of the short is
did they misbehave?
Banderas opens the door. He's like, shit's on fire. Ted is yanking this corpse out of his bed. His son is smoking, and his daughter
has a bottle of alcohol in her hand, about to hit the bellhop over the head, and he just fucking pulls this big ass syringe out of his leg that she fucking stabbed him with, and even in a moment he looks over and he sees the fucking bullseye drawn on the painting, and the television is on to Salma Hayek still dancing, and the fucking son takes the cigarette out of his mouth, looks at it like a fucking cartoon character, throws it behind him, and then more fire flails up behind him.
Yeah.
And then
he's
Antonio fucking just drops his fucking wife. Just absolutely no shits given. Just boom.
Did they misbehave?
Just drops her ass. Like,
it was
did they
great.
misbehave? Like,
and then that closes the misbehaviors, and we go to the man from Hollywood. The penthouse.
Even with that tiny little moment before then, where he calls Betty, played by Kathy Griffin, and ends up talking to the one stoner that answers the phone, played by Marissa Tomei, BT Dubs.
Right. Yep. Is lately she's been hot Aunt May, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, I know her famously as Lisa Vito from My Cousin Vinny.
Shit, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
My biological time clock is ticking like this. Yeah. Fucking love that movie.
Was she in the Godzilla remake too? Or was that someone else?
I think she was.
No.
I only saw Godzilla once, so I honestly don't remember that one.
I saw it about 1,000 fucking times because when I was 12, I thought that was the best movie on earth.
Oh, you mean Godzilla '99?
Yeah.
Oh, the one with
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. Yeah, I honestly don't remember that one either.
The girlfriend there of the cameraman who is again famous. I don't remember his name.
I actually haven't seen that one at all. I've only seen like clips of it and jokes about it. The only moment I saw is fucking Matthew Broderick. That's a lot of fish.
That's a lot of fish. Yes, of course. Of course. That's the only line that came out of that movie, I swear to God. Like, everyone knows.
It's a great meme.
It's a great meme. It's a terrible movie. I fucking love it.
Which, by the way, I feel like that was either Matthew Broderick or the director of Godzilla '99 was just trying to make like I was going to say a memeable moment, but that was before memes were a thing. But still, just a moment, an iconic, hilarious moment. I feel like he was trying to copy and the line spoken by, God damn it, his name is escaping me. He's super famous. What's his name? Life.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum's line in Jurassic Park was like, "That's one big pile of shit." Like, it's just that line. When you think about it, that's one big pile of shit.
Yeah,
that's a lot of fish.
That's a lot of fish.
It's the same line.
Yep.
Oh god.
No, I can see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to this movie, shit, Marissa Tomei got us here, right?
Yeah.
Yep. God, what a. But yeah, pretty funny. And then, you know, you've had those talks with your boss where it's like, yeah, I know we've had a bad day, and it's been rough, buddy, but you got to keep going.
You're just like, fuck you, no. And at the same time, just like, yep, I guess I gotta do. You get your ass down here pronto.
Yeah.
I'm gonna quote this entire bit because I've seen this movie so many times just for this one moment, and I say it along every time that it comes about. It's just like, hello, Betty. Me? I don't have a problem. I've got fucking problems. Plural.
Plural.
Wanna hear? Most recently, there's room 309. There's this Mexican gangster dude poking his finger in my chest. He's his hooligan kids snapping their fingers at me. This room's blazing afire. There's the bloated corpse of a dead horse stuffed in the springs of a bed. There's a big fat needle stuck in my leg from God knows where, infecting me with God knows what. And finally, there's me, walking out the door, right fucking now. Buenos noches.
Yeah.
Like, just, I love it. It's like, it's my favorite Tim Roth quote of all time. Not gonna lie,
so
it's
good.
my favorite Tim Roth quote. Is that whole shenanigans.
Oh my god. Yeah, and then he has to go to the penthouse, and
The Man from Hollywood.
this is a masterpiece
It
as far
is.
as I can. This is why I love Tarantino as a director.
If we just had this as a short film,
Yeah,
It would've
no,
been
if
great,
this was
like,
it.
if this was
yeah,
it.
if I didn't see anything else of this movie, this is fucking. Just watch this. If you can find it on the internet, just watch this fucking short.
yeah, I love. By the way, he's like pushing the car, about to come up to the room, out of nowhere. Get your skanky asses the fuck out of here! Two naked girls just run past him out the door, like.
And he's just like, what the fuck am I in for? Like, god damn it.
And another beautiful thing I noticed is that from the moment he walks in until the moment he has to reveal all of the things that he brought for them, that's all
First
one
person.
take.
It's all one take.
It's all
and
one
it's all
take.
first person.
Yeah.
And it's really great. So you walk into the room, and it's the camera is pretty much showing you what Ted is seeing.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, you've got Tarantino playing Chester.
Raj, I think it is. Chester Raj.
Rosh or something.
Rosh, yeah.
And he's offering him a drink, and like he comes right up to the camera, like right up to you. So now you're kind of in Tim Roth's shoes, right?
Yeah. Having a
Like this
drink
dude-
with Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino, who is just yammering at you too. Like this is like some Tarantino dialogue piece, right? Like he's just fucking yammering at you about fucking
Cristal is amazing. It's just like,
yeah,
what
how
do you-
Cristal, it's not champagne, it's Cristal.
What do you think of that
And
tasty
then-
beverage? It's fucking good, Ted. It's fucking good.
It's fucking good.
It's fucking
yeah,
Cristal. Everything else is piss. Like,
and he bangs on about Jerry Lewis and how he thinks America isn't fair. It's it's right every once in a while, but it's hardly fair. And he's just yammering, and he is in your face, and you feel like as Ted, you're like, what the fuck? Like this dude is up in your face, and it's like it kind of makes you feel uncomfortable because he's just kind of like staring you down.
yeah.
And then, as soon as he's done, the camera turns 180 and just stares at Ted, and he's just like, "The fuck!" Like, it's great. It's a great scene. I fucking love it.
And at this point, he's roped in. There's also like this. Yeah, just a little comment on what he said. It was like it's kind of beautiful and beautifully sad how well he predicted that whole situation with Jerry Lewis, where
Oh, right. Yeah.
he has to go to fucking France to get respect, but the day that he fucking dies, they're gonna be saying what a fucking legend he was and how terrible it was that we lost him, and they're never gonna treat him like that when he's alive, and it's not fucking fair, and that's totally true. The day he died. All the praise is in the world, but up until then, it was, you kind of didn't hear. I don't remember hearing a lot about Jerry Lewis at all until he fucking passed,
Mm-hmm.
in the past, I don't know how many years, but freaking so also. So another little thing, tidbit I'll say about Tarantino in this particular thing, because I could go on like a whole like tirade talking about like this segment, The Man from Hollywood, is the only particular segment that is actually directly based on a Roald Dahl work. Actually it's not even really a one-to-one adaptation. It's an homage, the same way that Tarantino kind of does with just about everything he does.
Yeah.
And it is an homage. He misnames it, and I don't know if that's either, perhaps he didn't misname it, and perhaps it was called this at one time, or
I think he just tweaked the name of it just
the name of
for
it on purpose. Yeah, for copyright reasons. But it was called the Man from the South. I'm fucking stuttering.
Yep.
The Man from the South is the name of the actual television episode. You could look it up on YouTube and watch the entire thing. It's starring Peter Lorre and Steve McQueen. And by the way, after watching that particular episode and looking at Steve McQueen as he was at that moment in I would believe it was 1967 or 68, 69. After seeing that, I totally understand why Tarantino cast Steve McQueen the way he did in, say, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because a lot of people said that about his casting of Steve McQueen in that movie was that the actor playing him did not look like Steve McQueen at all. That Steve McQueen was a lot better looking, and at that period in time that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes place, he did actually pretty much look almost exactly like that actor. Like, it was spot on. After seeing this particular segment, it was Steve McQueen as he looked at that time. So anyway, sorry, this is another little side tangent, but so yeah, like Tarantino, like it's flat out in the dialogue where he talks about like this whole thing that he brought Ted up there for is that he, is basically this game, this wager that he has with his friend who's there in the room with him. And they're only doing this because they're all fucking drunk. And half of them are just as much movie nuts or whatever as he is, or at least Bruce Willis's character is. BG Dubs. Bruce Willis, uncredited as a random side character in this fucking little short, which...
You know why he's uncredited, though?
I imagine it's because they probably couldn't pay for him union-wise.
Well, not that they couldn't pay for him union-wise. He did this for free.
He did it for free? Ooh.
He just... Tarantino was like, do you want to be a part of this little thing? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll do it just pro bono. Shit. But when you're part of the Screen Actors Guild, you have to get paid for your work.
Right.
And since he didn't get paid... They could have sued the production company, and they would have. But he was like, well, if I go uncredited,
then no harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure.
Shit. Dude, fucking hats off to you, Bruce.
Yeah, he just did this because he thought it would be fun.
Yeah. And of course he gives one hell of a performance there. Like,
it is one hell of a performance, and it's just like... Tarantino just brings the best out of every single one of the people he's working with. Mm-hmm. Like, their best performance. Because, like, I could just ramble on. And I'm losing words here just because I'm trying to, like, it's so good. I'm just trying to, like,
You're like
put
trying
it into
to condense
words
it. You're
is
trying to condense it so it's not like a million words,
yeah.
That would just get
Just the dialogue, how he commands a scene with dialogue, and his 1 minute pitch to Ted, right, about going through with this whole little charade, which is like the plot of that that story there, The Man from the South. If his friend, was it Howard or Harold? I can't remember. We begin with an H. No, Norman. His friend Norman could light his lighter 10 times in a row, he'd get Quentin's car.
And if he can't light it 10 times in a row, then they chop off his pinky.
Right. And they want to have Ted there because Ted doesn't give a shit about them, right? Ted doesn't know these people.
And also because he's sober. He's the only one.
And he's sober. He should be the one to cut the pinky off if it goes that way, right?
Yep.
And he's like, "What the fuck? No, I ain't doing shit for you people." And then Quentin's 1 minute.
I've got $100 with your name on it, whether you do what we say or not. You could tell us all to go fuck off and walk out that goddamn door. But if you wait 60 seconds before doing it, you're going to be $100 richer.
And Angela is there, right? And he's like, "What the fuck?"
Pretty much there.
She's the first one he sees, right? She opens the door, and he's like, "What
the fuck are you doing here?" Like, I love how
where's Siegfried?
He'll be asleep till Christmas. Like, he's literally like in bellhop mode, and then he sees her face, and then he immediately breaks, and just like his whole body just fucking jerks away. Just, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, oh, it's great. And she's basically in this movie pretty much to just like be in the corner and like just smirk at him, like just absolutely fucking torture him with her presence.
Yep. Yeah, they're all like, as they're like doing the pitch here, they're like, "You're impartial, Ted. Don't give a fuck about us, Ted, right?" Yeah. And then she's like, "Having one hell of a night, huh, Ted?" And he's just like, "Fuck off."
Just I just love the staging of that shot of like where the camera's just on his face contemplating everything, and they just lean into frame like whispering him like they're fucking demons on his shoulder, just like,
"Yep,
do it, just do it." Like,
and he's like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And they're like, "Nice," and they get all set up. And the first time he goes to light the lighter, it fucking fails. He chops off his goddamn pinky and then snags $1,000 and just walks out the door.
Just in the most happy stroll on his way out. All the time we hear, "My finger, my fucking finger, Chester, my fucking finger." Like,
he fucking cut off my finger, and they're like scrambling around like they didn't expect this to happen.
And if you keep watching, like as the credits are going,
yeah,
he like ends up like in the corner, like holding his his hand tucked under his armpit, while
the camera is looking right down the hallway to the elevator where Tim Roth just exited scene, and they're fucking running by it like it's not even there, and fucking Tarantino has the finger in the ice bucket, and then he trips and the ice goes everywhere, and they're like, "Oh, that's my finger, man. What the fuck?" Oh my god, it's so good. I was laughing so hard. I was like, this movie went from awkward to what is happening to, oh, that's kind of funny, to, my god, this is probably the funniest thing I've seen in a while. Like, this is great.
Right.
And it's just like, they built it up like, the least experienced directors, and then you had Robert Rodriguez that kind of warmed you up.
And then Tarantino just fucking knocked it out of the park.
Fucking, yeah, dude. I was like anything he does, he doesn't fucking half-ass it,
Really doesn't. There's another thing in particular I gotta comment on this, at least in relation to the thing that it's based on. So if you go and watch Man from the South, So here's the biggest difference, or the big thing between Quentin Tarantino's version and the original. The original has almost the exact same setup. One rich man tells another guy, it takes place in Vegas, and he tells this guy who's I think is just meeting this girl and trying to sweet talk this girl, and rich weird guy comes over, Peter Lorre, starts talking to him, and he says like, hey, he's like, you like cars? He's like, well, I have a car. You wanna gamble and have a nice wager? Let's play a game. And he's like, I see you have that Zippo lighter. Would you bet your life on it? Like if you can light that 10 times in a row, I'll give you my car. If you can't light it 10 times in a row, I'm gonna chop off your finger. Now, and hell, even Tarantino says in his, where for them it's just a bunch of rich guys like getting drunk and having a fun game, and he's like, well, my friend here drives a fucking Honda Civic. I can't, and he obviously doesn't have anything to offer me in this kind of wager, but he wants my car. I am attached to my car as he is attached to his finger. Now, if I lose, that's no problem. I'm a big boy. I knew exactly what I was getting into. But if I win, I want to win. It's like,
Yep.
And it's not like you're gonna lose it. What's gonna happen? We're gonna chop it off, and they're probably gonna send it to the hospital, and they'll sew it right back on. They sewed a guy's dick back on, so how hard can a finger be, right?
How hard could a finger be?
So, which is funny because, like, okay, so like another is like a big parallel difference between that and the original. In the original, that part was mentioned where it was like, oh well, if you chop my finger off, like I guess I could just get it sewn back on, and then Peter Lorre's character is just like, no. If I keep it. I keep it. It's like that finger's mine if you lose the bet. So, and then if you ever go and watch this thing, it actually, and if you don't know what happens, it is actually, which by the way, spoiler alert. I mean, it's a spoiler alert for everything, but still, it is the most. It's even when you know what happens, it's some of the most suspenseful shit. It is a good like 5 minutes of you just like kind of biting your lip every time that he like lights that fucking lighter. And I think depending on which version you watch, if you watch the original one with Steve McQueen, I think he only gets to 8 or 9 or 7, right? And he gets there, and before he can try the last one, a woman comes in and stops and breaks up the whole thing. And she explains that guy I think is her husband, and he's a menace, and he's done this before like countless times to other people in the island country where we used to live, and we moved here so that he didn't have to face criminal charges.
Jesus.
And it gets better. It's like, and by the way, that car that he promised you, that's not his car. That's my car. He doesn't have anything to bet. For all his talk of sportsmanship, he doesn't have anything to bet. So he doesn't have anything because I want it all. And it took a long time, and it cost a lot, but I won everything. And then it like reveals she reveals her hand, and all of her fingers except her thumb and her pinky are chopped off.
Oh.
Like it's a really fucked up twist ending, but circling around this back to Tarantino, it's like, okay, well, so why he makes his kind of mind frame of how he makes the decisions that he does. I think back to an interview that he was giving for Django Unchained. And for Django Unchained, the one thing that he had talked about was Roots, right? When Roots came out, like, what is it? It's like a 8 or 16 hour series, and somewhere near the end, I think what was it, like Chicken George or something, like has the plantation owner like tied up to a tree, and he has the whip, and he's gonna whip him, to like give him a peeling to end all peelings, and they do that thing, or this is even how he describes it. They do that thing where he throws down the whip and says, "No, I can't do that because then I would be no better than you." And he said, and every house in America was like, "No, whoop his ass." Like, whip his ass. Bullshit. It's like, so in that same kind of I feel like it was in that same kind of spirit of I think he's always said that like his big thing is building suspense is great, but it's only good if you pay it off with what people
you
really
expect.
are expecting, what people want to see, you know.
Right.
And in Django, he kind of, he righted that wrong by when Django gets the whip, he whips the shit out of the guy, fucking cracks the side of his face open with it, and like, and then he fucking unloads his gun on him. Well, in here, where in all other versions of that Roald Dahl story, what happens is, well, the finger never gets cut off.
Right.
And so here, where if you saw the original and you're looking at this and the camera zooms in on that lighter, the funny thing is, the more I think about it, is I wonder to myself, is there a longer cut of this segment? And I wonder if they like filmed, like maybe he did get the lighter right a couple times, and they had like this, build of suspense, instead of immediately the camera just zooms in on the lighter, he grinds his, like he snaps the lighter once and it doesn't light, and immediately with no warning, just knife, chop, just like,
it's way more comedic and way more
it
impactful that it did it this way, that it was just like, if I do it 10 times, it doesn't even work the first fucking time and he loses his goddamn finger. That's hilarious.
That is hilarious. It's
a bunch of drunk people making stupid decisions because they're drunk and they know it.
Yep.
And it's just perfect, right? And Eli Roth's character now gets to walk out the day
Tim Roth.
$1,500 richer. He took $500 from Antonio Banderas and took Quentin's $1,000, and I don't know, maybe he should stay working here. It might not be like the most stable job, but people are just showering you in money for them to do stupid shit. So maybe stay.
Right. That's twice now. That's twice now that Tarantino has made twice now, maybe 3 times that Tarantino has, like, or specifically with Tim Roth, that Tarantino made a situation where even after the end you kind of want to see what happened to Tim Roth's character. Like, I feel like the same thing happened in Pulp Fiction when him and Amanda Plummer's character, Amanda Palmer? Is it Amanda Palmer? Or Plummer?
I think so.
I always forget I think it's Palmer. Anyway, the two of them, like, walk out, hand in hand or whatever. They, and I was just like, kind of wonder what happened to those characters, like after the lesson, that fucking Samuel Jackson's character, the Jules, gave them. It's like, did they change or did they go back to crime? It's like, and in this situation, it's also with Tim Roth's character when he, Ted walks out. I'm like, does Ted quit? Does he get a better job? And like, I don't know. Like, he's such a like an eccentric kind of eclectic guy. I really would love to see what the fuck's going on with him now. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Shit, such a good character.
Such a good movie.
So yeah,
I'm glad you suggested this one. This was a good one.
If only for that last segment.
Exactly. That last segment made up for the whole thing. It was great. But you know what else is great?
What?
Our audience.
Yes.
They're great for watching this.
Yes, they are.
With that, that's your Movie Rantels.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night. Like, subscribe,
and ring that bell, and follow us on Facebook and other social medias down in the description below.
Good night.
Have a wonderful day.
We rant about Four Rooms, a quirky little anthology movie featuring the likes of Eli Roth, Madonna, Antonio Banderas, Mark Lawrence, Bruce Willis, and a hell of a lot more.
Hold the phone. Eli Roth? Where the fuck was he?
Did I mess something up? We can delete. We can always cut this, right?
No.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth.
Okay, we're going to start this over again. Shit. My own fucking script.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might have to like cut this together and put this at the end because this is good.
It's really funny.
Like, just put it at the very end just as an outtake.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Like, God damn it.
Eli Roth.
Tim Roth. Okay. Let's I'm gonna reset here.
I'd love to see a remake of this movie with Eli Roth in Tim Roth's place.
I'm glad you're amused by this.
I'm
okay.
sorry.